left to exit 4, Plymouth Plantation Highway. In 600 feet, you'll arrive at Plymouth Plantation.
Time and temperature check. It is currently 11:04 on Tuesday, the 24th of November, 42 degrees. 2 days from now is Thanksgiving, which is the topic for today's detour. Today's detour takes place at a location I last visited on detour number 33, 4 years ago back in 2016. And before that, the last time I was here, I took a school bus with my elementary school on a school field trip. The place looks exactly the same right now as it did back in the 1980s, which also looked exactly the same as it did in 1947 when this place opened up. We are back here at a quite windy Plymouth Plantation, now known as Plymouth Patuxent after a name change within the last year or so to be more socially acceptable. Patuxent. Patuxent. I think I'm saying it right. Man goes by the name Henry Hornblower. He opened up this living museum back in 1947. Here's a miniature version of what we're going to see today. It's a miniature English village. Wow, I didn't even think about this, and I didn't do the math definitely when I was planning today's detour. This marks the 400th anniversary of when the Mayflower arrived here in Plymouth, Massachusetts. That's cool. We're here for like an anniversary. All right, got my ticket, got my map. I'm gonna start over here at the Wampanoag home site, which makes sense because the Native Americans were, after all, here before the Pilgrims. So let's start where they're from. I know I just used the term Native American. I should probably be using the term indigenous. Trying to stay politically correct. This is how the indigenous people would have dressed when the Pilgrims were over here in the year 1620. Man, this detour is gonna be full of hard words for me to say. First Patuxent, now indigenous. The indigenous people, they wore headdresses made out of porcupine hair. Here's a more current wardrobe worn by the Wampanoag community. I knew I see a pilgrim and maybe a couple indigenous people, but I didn't think I'd ever see a Ghostbuster here at Plymouth Plantation. All right, time to learn about some history. There are a lot of kids here today, which means they're not at home and doing Zoom schooling. Man, it would be so tough to be a kid these days, doing school from home on a Zoom. There was no Zoom back in the 1980s when I was in school. Zoom is the sound you make when you're on your bike because you didn't have a cell phone. You were outside zooming around on your bike. And I'm gonna try to stay away from these people in front of me because they were coughing heavily in the parking lot. All right, let's start this historic journey, starting off at the Wampanoag home site. Since after all, the indigenous people were here before the Pilgrims. Might as well get their homestead first. The Wampanoag Garden. Everything looks pretty much dead right here. It's probably, what, corn stalks? Spring and summer months is probably full of corn. I'm not too sure. I do see some pussy willows out there in the background. All right, there's the information right here. They grew pumpkins, corn, beans, watermelons, sunflowers. That's a cool little tree house. I'm definitely not going to read this information to you. I'll get closer and you can take a screenshot if you want to learn about the history of the L River and the summer house. There's no roof on this structure, so you can see how they built it, all the framework. That's how the canoes are made. They're not whittled out, they're burned out.
Thank you. Yeah, have a good afternoon.
Very cool. Look at the size of this boat, huh?
Yep, these are all made new, but there is one in the visitor center that is 400 or 500 years old. It's in the archaeology exhibit.
You can actually see it.
What?
Oh, that's cute. And then they made their own utensils too.
Oh yeah, yep. Your bowls and your spoons, they're gonna be, and your cups, they're gonna be made out of wood.
Oh, the wood one, yeah.
I know for a fact when I last visited back in 2016, there was a lot more stuff going on down there in the Wampanoag home site. This place does close in the next couple of days, so maybe they just pack it up for the year. It's only open from spring until late November. Now it's time to check out how the English settlers lived in the year 1620 after landing on Plymouth Rock. Check out all these cannons. This is where they would protect their colony from. So this is how a pilgrim colony would have looked in 1620 after they landed on Plymouth Rock on the Mayflower. Look at something a little bit like this. Very comfy and cozy, I'd say, for 1620. Here behind the house, they have gardens and livestock. I know I've been saying 1620 as I walk around Plymouth Patocks. This particular part of the museum, the English Village, is supposed to be how life was in the year 1624. So 4 years after the English got over here on the Mayflower, the Puritans, if you will, the Pilgrims, 4 years after they landed on Plymouth Rock. This is definitely a unique museum. Each one of those buildings, there's people inside there, actual role players, cast members, if you will, answering your questions, telling you how life was in the year 1624 as they are kind of living like it's the year 1624 out here. You have to suspend space and time. Got a guy making some furniture over here. Old school wheelbarrow.
We don't have forests like this back in England. They certainly don't have forests like this in Holland. Holland has always had to bring wood into its country to build with. Wow. Yeah. Much of the wood comes from Muscovy. Yeah. Our chiefest drink is water, and south of town there is a brook, we call it the town brook, and it is filled with springs. So if someone offers you a cup of water here, it is our best hospitality and it's excellent good, because spring water is the best water. Springs are so common here. My husband said when they divide the land up next year, then we will see where the springs are and decide how to use it. That's how many springs there are here, that you can take 10 acres of ground and know you will have springs on it somewhere. Wow. Yes, I work hard during the day, so I have no trouble falling asleep. My conscience is clear. I am tired. No trouble sleeping. No.
What is your mattress made of?
It's feathers. And in truth, I've added some swans down to it since I have come here, because we have swans in the country too. So some feathers, like turkey feathers, you will keep the quills to cut into pens, but the rest of them are trash, throw them away. But duck feathers, goose feathers, swan feathers, the down of them from their bellies, that is very good to put in your beds. You could probably here, we eat so many geese and ducks, fill a bed over the course of the winter if you were good. Oh, wow. That's keeping your fingers very busy.
Obviously, due to the pandemic, they don't want people crowding inside these buildings, so this will be the closest I can bring you inside one of these houses. There's a fancy one.
I can't say I've ever truly counted, so I don't have an exact number, but you want especially different things for different seasons here. It gets very cold this time of year, as you can tell, but it gets much hotter in the summer, so I'll try not to wear so many layers of wool. I'll try and wear lighter things. But you've got more smocks than anything else, which is the white. It goes the length all the way to my knees, and it's a long sleeve. So this is really what touches me most. So you have more of those so that you can wash them more often. So it keeps the rest of your clothing clean. Yeah, so that you've got a lot of, and coives, you'll have a lot of coives for the same reason. I didn't. Sorry.
Oh, did women always wear this when they left the house?
Yeah, if you're inside the house with just your family, you might keep it off. But if I'm going anywhere, yeah.
Do you have a second story?
We have a loft. No one really lives up there, but it's filled with supplies.
Oh, storage space.
So when you need a supply, you could go up there and get some supplies?
Yeah, if you see behind Mistress Winslow, there's a ladder.
Oh, okay.
So you would use that to go up.
And all this furniture came from England, or did you carve it here? Would people?
It's all come over.
It all
Just
came
as
over.
You thought, yeah. There's no time for us to carve them here, nor anyone that I know of that has the skill to do so. So anything that's been carved or turned, it's all been brought over.
Interesting.
Small accommodations. Cozy. Bigger fireplace than I have at my place since I don't have a fireplace. This iPhone 12 Pro Max definitely gives you a lot better shots in low light. It's completely dark in there. Not in this video. What's everybody looking at down there? Oh, I see what they're looking at. Bunch of goats. Got some more livestock. Oh. There you go. Here's a little known fact. They had fire hydrants and water bubblers back in the year 1624. I think I've pretty much seen everything I kind of want to see out here. I mean, doesn't take too long to walk around this place. This is Thanksgiving. This is Thanksgiving, 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 Thanksgiving. Stepping into the gift shop because I got to pick up a magnet. I pick up a magnet from every location. I do a detour. And they do have quite the selection of magnets. Seeing the Mayflower, pilgrim hat, Plymouth Rock. All right, I think it's time to head over to check out the recreation of the Mayflower, otherwise known as the Mayflower 2. It's getting a little warm too. I might have to switch this jacket out for the vest. Still only supposed to be in the 40s, but sweating. Here's the statue of William Bradford. He is the governor and historian of the Plymouth County. Born in England in 1590, died in Plymouth, 1657. Oh wow, I didn't even notice that indigenous person up there, the Native American. Right over here on top of this sidewalk is a major part of history. You guys ready for this? That, my friends, is Plymouth Rock. Pretty underwhelming, huh? Back in the year 1620, the Pilgrims landed here in Plymouth, Massachusetts on the Mayflower. They sailed right into Plymouth Harbor. And they landed right here at this rock. In reality, that's not the whole rock. That's just the top piece. The rock has been cut. You can see it online. I apologize about the leaf blower behind me. I can't do anything about that. I'm not going to wait around for him to get done with his work. But here is the history of Plymouth Rock. You can take a screenshot of this. The rock does look underwhelming because actually the rock broke in two. Happy early Thanksgiving. I can't do anything about the sound of the wind, but ladies and gentlemen, this is the Mayflower 2. It's an exact replica of the ship that the Pilgrims came over from England. The year 1620. Arrived in Plymouth Harbor. Right here at Plymouth Rock. You guys want to go on that ship? Now I'm kind of wishing I left that heavier jacket on. It's a little bit chillier down here by the water. Even though the ship is just restored, they're still doing plenty of work inside, and up on the mast there's a guy there doing some stuff. Oh wow, we're about to walk onto the Mayflower 2. Being greeted by some pilgrims here. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. If this was a love boat, I would ask permission to come aboard, sir. Wow. head first down below deck, see where the passengers lived on their journey over to America.
Like the food and their furniture and their clothes. So the animals most likely would have been towards the front of the ship.
Yes, but yeah, this would be. I think they might have had a few. They are good for Canada.
I think it's doing a little bit of restoration on the ship. We are below deck. This is where the pilgrims would have slept during their travel over to America. This is awesome. When I came to Plymouth 4 years ago, Mayflower 2 wasn't here. It was in, I believe, in Connecticut getting restored. It just came back this year. Perfect timing for the 400th anniversary.
She's going to be watching. She can see every maneuver that's taking place. Can command everyone at the sail position, steering the rudder and tell them to change course.
I'm not sure what that is there.
Mayflower 2 was built in 1957 in England. Getting total flashbacks of when I took that school trip back in the 80s here. It's all coming back to me now.
I think it's where. No, I'm not really sure. Probably just sit. Maybe it was a first class cabin back in the day.
The ship is still active. Here's a compass. I believe this is for the rudder. Maybe. Pulled out this way and that.
It would have been primarily black powder. Black powder, just the smoke and the noise. Exactly. Wow. Because that's all you need. You just need the noise. If you're close, yeah. Oh, she's loud. You can hear her quite a ways away. When we were sailing her back from Mississippi, Connecticut, we shot her off a few times. I was down in the hold, 3 decks below, and I could hear her clear as day. Wow, nice. She and this bell. Loud girls, I tell you. Yes?
The Plymouth Rock, what is that? Is that just a rock they commemorated this with?
Before I answer, I'm going to ask you, you want me on my soapbox or off my soapbox? Because I could go on a whole tirade. On your soapbox. On my soapbox. All right. I personally hate Plymouth Rock.
Okay.
1, it's very disappointing. 2, it's not real. It is a real rock, but the idea that they can pinpoint exactly what rock that people got off on, and on top of that, I don't know if you've been out near P-Town, that's where they landed, mostly sandy shores. So not really a lot of rocks there, and furthermore, the story of that rock, we don't hear about that until around the Revolutionary War. And so that tells me, as someone who studies history and has a master's in it, I would hope I know a thing or two, anytime a country is being founded, first thing they do, they look for a founding story. Exactly so. Like in the late 19-teens, early 1920s, founding of the Soviet Union, first thing they do, look for their founding story. Same thing with the United States. So with that, if you imagine, they think, who's our founding fathers? The Pilgrims, we'll call them our founding fathers. And so everything after that, that's why my job is a little difficult, because I have to work through all of this mythology that has been created. This idea that there's a Plymouth Rock, this idea that they came here for religious freedom, this idea that they came here to establish something separate from England. So in order, probably not a rock, and if it is, then after 400 years, definitely would not still be here. Second, they wanted religious freedom for themselves, not for anyone else. They had religious freedom in Holland when they lived there, but they realized everyone else did too, and they hated that. Because they didn't want to live in a secular society. And then finally, they very much enjoyed being English. The only thing they didn't like was that England's religion didn't agree with their views. Another reason why they left Holland is because their children were coming home speaking Dutch. So essentially a whole there goes the neighborhood moment. They want their children to be English. So that's why they come here to preserve their Englishness while also not breaking the law by practicing their own religion in England.
So true in English.
Exactly. They came here to make it in England's image. That is their intent. Is during this time, they don't like democracy. They think if you rule, it is because God has given that to you by your birthright. So, with someone like Bradford or Carver, who was elected to be governor, they didn't want to be governor. They were elected to be governor. It's like, hey, until we have someone who actually is meant to be a ruler, you know, sort of like subtle diss at them. Until we have someone who's meant to be a ruler, we'll deal with you.
The Mayflower Compact, 1620. Heck, if there's a bell, I'm gonna ring it. So the guy on the Mayflower 2 said that they didn't even land on this rock. In fact, they didn't even land right here. They landed in near Provincetown. Sandy beach, not known for rocks. I just don't know what to believe in history now. I really don't. Did we just walk into a conspiracy theory? I'm not trying to debunk it. I'm just gonna go by what I believe. The Pilgrims landed right there, 1620. On the Mayflower right there, and they lived in a village like the one I took you to over at the Plymouth Plantation complex. That's the history I'm going to remember. It may not be the correct history, but that's what I grew up learning about in the history books. 46 years old, I'm not going to start believing some other kind of history now at this point. Well, I think that's going to be it for this Plymouth detour. Here are the tube magnets I got. I got a Mayflower tube magnet, and then I got this one actually. After I bought the Mayflower 2 one, I got this one. This one was like a lot cheaper. It's a hologram, see? Cool, huh? It wouldn't be a Thanksgiving detour without a little bit of turkey. I know I'm going to have real turkey on Thursday, but just for this detour, we got to, you know, make it complete. I just realized I didn't even crack a beer in this detour. Well, that's going to be it for this special holiday detour. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. I always answer all the comments. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing. Click that red subscribe button down below. And while you're clicking away, click that small bell. It'll give you instant notification every single time I upload a brand new detour. Check me out on social media. I'm on Instagram at Derek Millen, DerekMillen. I also got a Facebook group, Derek Millen's Detours. And as always, I'll catch you on the next detour.